You know that feeling when you look at someone who's 10 years older than you, and they say something like, "I wish I'd started sooner," and you think, "Yeah, sure, but I've got time." Here's the thing, though. They said the same thing when they were your age. I'm not here to scare you, but I do want to show you something that most people don't fully understand until it's too late to do much about it. And that's this. If you're under 60 right now, you're sitting inside a window. A financial and psychological window that won't stay open forever. And once it closes, it doesn't reopen. This isn't about panic, it's about awareness. Because the difference between financial stress at 65 and financial peace at 65 often comes down to what you did or didn't do in your 30s, 40s, and 50s. So let's talk about what that window actually is, why it matters more than you think, and what you can do while it's still open. Most people think about money in snapshots. What's in my account today? Can I afford this thing right now? What's my paycheck this month? And that makes sense, because life is expensive and most of us are just trying to keep up. Rent, bills, food, emergencies. There's not much left to think long term when you're managing the short term every single week. But here's what gets lost in that cycle. Time is working whether you're paying attention to it or not. There's this concept in psychology called temporal discounting. It's the idea that our brains are wired to value things happening now way more than things happening later, even if the future thing is objectively better. That's why it's easier to spend money today than save it for 10 years from now. Your brain doesn't feel the future. It feels the present. And that bias, it's one of the biggest reasons people wake up at 55 or 60 and realize they've been running in place financially, not because they were irresponsible, but because they prioritized what felt urgent over what was actually important. The truth is, most people don't think they're ignoring their future. They think they'll get to it eventually. When things calm down, when they make more money, when life gets easier. But life doesn't get easier. It just gets different. And time? Time keeps moving. So what is this window I keep talking about? It's the years between now and roughly 60, where your decisions still have exponential power, where time can still multiply your effort, where you can still recover from mistakes, pivot, and build something that supports you later. Let me give you a simple example. Let's say you're 35. You start putting away $300 a month into something that grows at an average of 7% per year. By the time you're 60, that's around $240,000. Not because you're rich, not because you got lucky, just because you gave it 25 years to grow. Now, let's say you wait until you're 50. Same $300 a month, same 7% return. By 60, you've got about $52,000. You put in almost the same amount of money, but you got less than a quarter of the result. That's not a math trick. That's just how time works. And it's not just about investing. It's about everything. Career skills, health habits, relationships. The earlier you start, the more room you have to let things compound. But here's the part that people don't talk about enough. It's not just about starting. It's about staying consistent. And that's where the psychology gets tricky. Because life will always give you reasons to stop. A car breaks down. Someone gets sick. You lose a job. You take a pay cut. You move. You have kids. You help a parent. All of it is real. All of it matters. And this is where most people break. Not because they don't care, but because they think stopping means failing. So they stop, feel guilty, and never start again. But here's what I want you to hear. Stopping doesn't erase what you already did. If you saved for 3 years and then had to pause for 6 months, those 3 years still count. The growth still happened. The habit still existed. The mistake isn't pausing. The mistake is thinking that because you paused, it's over. Time doesn't punish you for being human. It just rewards consistency over perfection. So here's the shift I want you to think about. Most people approach money like it's a sprint. Like if they can just push hard enough for a few years, they'll be fine. And when that doesn't work, they burn out, give up, or convince themselves it's too late. But money isn't a sprint, it's a long walk. And the people who end up in a better place aren't the ones who did everything perfectly. They're the ones who just kept walking. Even when it was slow, even when it felt pointless, even when life interrupted them over and over again. Because here's the thing about that window. It doesn't close all at once. It closes gradually. Every year you wait, the effort required to catch up gets a little bigger. The margin for error gets a little smaller. The stress starts to creep in. But if you're under 60 right now, the window is still open. Maybe not as wide as it was at 25, but still open, still usable, still worth walking through. And what you do now, in this decade, in these years, will determine whether you spend your 60s and 70s with options or without them, whether you feel trapped or free, whether money is something that controls you or something you've learned to manage. That's not dramatic. That's just reality. So what does this actually look like in real life? First, start somewhere, even if it's small, even if it feels insignificant. $50 a month is better than zero. $100 is better than $50. You don't need to have it all figured out. You just need to begin. Open a retirement account if you don't have one. If your job offers a match, take it. That's free money. If they don't, look into an IRA or a Roth IRA. Put something in. Automate it if you can. Make it invisible so you don't have to think about it every month. Second, stop waiting for perfect circumstances. You'll never have enough money. You'll never have enough time. There will always be something else competing for your attention. But if you wait until everything lines up, you'll wait forever. Third, treat your future self like someone you care about. Not some stranger, not some abstract concept, but you. 10 years from now, 20 years from now, what would that version of you want you to do today? Fourth, if you've already started and stopped, start again. Seriously, it's not too late. You didn't fail. You paused. Now unpause. Pick up where you left off. Keep going. And finally, understand that this isn't about becoming rich. It's about reducing future stress. It's about having options. It's about not being forced into decisions you don't want to make because you didn't give yourself any cushion. Financial peace isn't about having millions. It's about knowing you'll be okay. And that feeling? That comes from consistency, not perfection. Look, I get it. Life is hard right now. You've got 1,000 things pulling at you. Money feels tight. Time feels short. And thinking about 20 years from now feels impossible when you're just trying to make it through this month. But that's exactly why this matters. Because the window doesn't wait for you to be ready. It just stays open for as long as it stays open. And then, quietly, it starts to close. If you're watching this and you're 30, 40, 50, even 55, you still have time. Not infinite time, but enough. Enough to make decisions that matter. Enough to build something. Enough to change the trajectory. You don't have to do everything right. You just have to do something, and then keep doing it. Because 10 years from now, you'll either look back and wish you'd started, or you'll look back and be grateful you did. The choice is yours. And the window is still open.